Welcome to Macias Media, sponsored by me, myself, and I. I am Jeff Macias, your host. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to leave anything in the Cash App, you could leave it. Let's start our show. Mic check. Okay, good. I would like to talk about something very controversial. Um, Paul Pierce brought up a topic of why basketball players prefer white girlfriends. Um, and I would like to talk about just that. Um, Now, I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of somebody um, that has only seriously dated black women like for my entire life, and that is married to a black woman. But Paul Pierce said they appreciate and apologize more, this being white women, appreciate and apologize more. Let's talk about this. Do I believe this? Um, Kinda. And I don't say kinda to put any demographic up or any demographic down. The fact of the matter is, I was a single man for a long time. For a long time. And in my many years of dating, and all I dated was black women. What I found is that even amongst black women, common sense comes into play, meaning there are different types of black people out there. Like, let's talk African Americans, for instance. Um, I'm not I'm not technically African American. I am Haitian American. I was born in Haiti, born in Port-au-Prince, came here when I was 5, and I just became a citizen. Woo woo! This year. Um, so I consider myself very much West Indian. Um, from even the African American standpoint, I could say there is a big difference between black girls that I dated from northern cities like New York, and southern cities. Like, southern girls are just, they seem to be more family orientated. They seem to be more traditional. They seem, now don't get me wrong, a woman is a woman, so like every woman has edges and this and that. But for the type of guy I am and the type of thing I was looking for in a woman, which is I was raised very traditional, um, um, to be a traditional kind of guy and to have a traditional type of lifestyle. And traditional meaning like, um, um, the boyfriend or husband leads, they take initiative, they pay majority of the bills or all of the bills, and your wife is a helpmate, um, and either can help you with bills or can help you at home, etc. If your business is large enough, helps you with your business. If something breaks down, like, and you need someone to help you clean up, she's there. She's your helpmate. Like, she is there. Um, and you are the protector, the provider, and the leader of your home, of your children, and of your spouse, and sometimes even of your parents. Um, I was raised in that type of environment, so that's what um, I was looking for in the dating world, or at least that's what I was looking for when I wanted to settle down. When I wanted to have fun, it didn't really matter too much. But when I wanted to settle down, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a traditional type of person with traditional values. traditional mindset, traditional goals. Um, the type of person that, if I'm broke, would, you know, pay the bills. But as soon as I get back on my feet, I would expect her to fall back. The type of person that, if I have the ability to, that I would retire. Like, you don't have to work. I'll take care of the financial aspect. Doesn't mean you don't have to do anything, but you don't have to work anymore, or you don't have to go to work and do something you don't necessarily want to do, I should say. You go to work, but you do things like, let's say you want to do philanthropy, or let's say you only want to go to work for 4 hours a day, or whatever. You get to choose something like that. Or let's say you want to work from home, whatever. You have that option. You don't have to work overtime and da 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 to, like, I really don't believe in women breaking their backs to hustle. I believe men should be the ones breaking our backs to hustle. Like, I believe that we were born to have broad shoulders, to take on a lot of weight. Um, but with that said, how I was raised didn't really align with what I was finding when it came to a lot of African American ladies, because I feel like, to a lot of ladies from this country, black women from the U.S., everything I just said is a very archaic way of thinking. It's a very 1930s, 1950s way of thinking and doing things, but it's really not. What happened is, if you go outside of the US, it's still predominantly how things are, how things go. But in the US, or even we could say in the Western world, it's becoming less so. And because of that, um, it was tough to find someone that aligned with my values and my goals and all that. That I didn't feel like I had to compete with. That I felt like, I hate to use that word submission, because I believe, to a certain extent, both parties submit to each other. But ultimately, the last word, I was taught, is with the man. But I was also taught that a woman should never be with a man that is not a competent leader. So yeah, that part. Um, then, we bring up, but but my original take is, northern city girls, southern girls, more traditional, but both of them still are not as traditional. Like, they both feel like, that way of thinking is archaic. um, Regardless of your level of success or wealth or da da da, that, even if I was a millionaire, a billionaire, that, they don't want to necessarily be in that position. They want to be perfect equals. They don't want to be a helpmate. They want to be partners. And that's not really how I was raised. But to each their own. It's just not something that worked for me as an individual. And from what I've been told, it doesn't work for a lot of other individuals, especially um, successful individuals, successful men out there of all races, demographics, etc., religions. Um, Now, West Indian women are like one step above. West Indian women are somewhat more traditional, because I feel like family is more important. And that's another thing. I was raised that when you get married, it's a union of two families. It's really not a union of two individuals, it's a union of two families. And in American culture, I felt like that went away a long time ago. But in other cultures, that still matters. Whereas, does the person come from a good family, type of thing, really is important, Um, oh, but I still found that important for me. Again, West Indians, one step above, more traditional. especially certain Trinidadians. Well, the only ones I really ever dated on any type of serious level was Jamaicans and Haitians, Jamaicans and Haitians, Jamaicans and Haitians, and I dibbled and dabbled with everything else, with Guyanese, with Trinidadian, with Barbados, with Saint Lucia, with Saint Kitts, etc. But my go-to was Jamaican, Haitian, Jamaican, Haitian, Jamaican, Haitian, and I could say women from those places are more traditional. They're not like um, super duper duper. Sure. Well, it really depends. It really depends if they're off the boat or not. The ones back home are very much so traditional, but once you come here and the American way of thinking, the American lifestyle starts getting in you, then sometimes you become less so. Um, and then there are Africans, which are the most traditional out of all the black demographics. And I honestly believe traditional value has to do with your quality of life. Because if you're in a position where you need the men in your life, you need the fathers, you need the brothers, you need the uncles, you need the husbands, the boyfriends, then men get put on a pedestal. But if you're in a position where you can outsource um, males in your life for males um, in the workforce, so you don't really need your brother, your father, your uncle, your dad anymore. Now you have the policeman, you have the roofer, you have the construction worker, you have, which are all men, but they're outsourced. They're like, so your dad's not putting together, a bed for you. Your brother's not protecting you from a bully. You're like, you no longer need, but back home, a lot of times you need men, because wars don't fight themselves, And as much as we like to think that we've gotten to a point where women fight wars too, but when shit hits the fan, it's just not that simple. Like men still predominantly fight and die for country, for their women, for their way of life, and that takes me to this whole concept of white women. Um, White women, Hispanic women, Asian women, I feel like to a lot of people that think like me, even though I never went that route of dating outside my race, because I just did the work of trying to find someone that complimented me and someone that that was like me, that believed in the things that I believed in and shared my values, that but still was black. But some men don't have the patience, so they're just like, I'll just. I had a good experience with this Hispanic woman. I had a good experience with this white woman. I had a good experience with this Asian woman. I had a good experience with this Arab woman. So that's what I prefer now. Because if you're the type of guy that dates everything, and you're comparing and contrasting, and let's say you had a bad experience with a black woman, and then you compare it to a better experience with, let's say, a Hispanic woman or a white woman, then that's going to be your go-to. And I honestly feel like that's why things like that happen. Now, again, if I think if we have more patience, there are different types of black women out there. I don't think anyone has to necessarily date outside of their race unless you just fall in love and da da da. But like to deliberately do that, I don't think that's necessary because there are great traditional um, black women out there. Like I've met them. They're few and far between. The more Like they're hard to find. I shouldn't say they're few and far between. They're hard to find, but they're definitely out there. And traditional women, they come with the price. You know, they expect you to pick up the bill. They expect you to open the door. They expect you to pull the chair out. And a guy like me is 100% okay with that. Um, so I personally think that is the conundrum that a lot of black successful people, athletes in particular, face. Like when you get exposed to different types of women and you're comparing and contrasting how they treat you, you will gravitate one way more than the other. Now, if you dated 4 or 5 different types of black women, you would probably do the same thing. You would gravitate a certain way. I've met African American women that say, "Oh, I can't date an African American guy. Like I can only date, an African guy or a West Indian guy, da da da." Or the other way around. I've met Haitian women that say, "I can't date a Haitian guy." I've met Jamaican women that say, "I can't date a Jamaican." So through dating, you compare and contrast how you're treated, and then you go about your way. You make generalizations that are based um, strongly or loosely on experiences that you have. Um, Now, again, if you dated a handful of black women, um, and then you dated a couple non-black women, and you come to the conclusion that this person is more cooperative, they treat me better, they're this, they're less materialistic, they're whatever, like they're okay with the coffee date type of bullshit, da da da. Then you got to do what you got to do. I didn't go that route though.